Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to NOLA Theater Talk. My name is Alan Smason. It's been a minute, but we are back, and we are glad that theater's back. For those of you who have missed me and missed the show, I'm sorry, but Mardi Gras sometimes gets in the way of theater. It's bifurcating sometimes in terms of pre-Mardi Gras and after Mardi Gras for theater in town, but it does have its blessings because you do get to enjoy a little bit of the carnival, etc. But it does have its downside from the standpoint that not a lot of the theater can go on when and if there's a Mardi Gras parade or something going on. So we do have that little challenge from time to time. This is broadcast on the NOLA Theater Folk Facebook group, on the theatercriticism.com Facebook page, and my own YouTube channel. We want to remind everybody that if you have any comments tonight, we have a live stream show. You can go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and just let everybody know who you are, because if you just post on Facebook a comment during the show, which you can do, it's not going to really show up your name. We won't know who you are. So I keep that in mind, that we'd like you very much to be part of the show. And if you have a comment or you have a question that we can answer live, we'll be happy to do that. But we would love to know who you are. And by going to that particular link, StreamYard.com/Facebook, you will give permission to StreamYard to put your name up from Facebook. So there you go. Okay, so we're getting ready to talk about two different shows tonight. The first show, of course, you can see already on top, the NOLA Project, the Theater for the Bold People. Yes, we all know them and love them. And they are back with a provocative show, a show that actually goes back to, I believe, 1986. It's a show that was controversial in its day and still has some controversy. I think that its intent is to make people consider and think about the Black experience in the United States and America. And also it's done in such a, I guess, almost perfect setting. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit, about, how this was developed and where it is being put on, etc. But for right now, I'd like to bring in the two directors of this beautiful piece called The Colored Museum. And ladies first, Tenaj Wallace and Torrey Haward. Thank you. Welcome to the show, guys. And again, we like to mention the fact that we started in the pandemic, and what we usually do is we first, kind of get a little, comfortable with one another. And since we started in the pandemic, we said, well, why don't we bring a little drink in and let everybody chill a little bit? So I'm going to bring in my drink first. This is made with Ohen, and it's an Ohen cocktail with sugar, water, and basically chilled and then strained. And if you don't know what Ohen is, since we got out of Mardi Gras, it's the official cocktail that Rex toasts all of its toast at the various restaurants that they have. So it just came back out a few years ago. It was made in Spain, and they stopped making it. So Rex ended up buying a whole bunch of it. And anyway, long and the short is it's back. So there you go. So Tenaj, what did you bring in?
Let's see. I have double fisting. I have a nice jug of water and also a High Noon.
Very good.
Seltzer.
Now, is that a seltzer that is a little bit of something in it extra, or is it just a flavored soda?
Well, it's vodka with real peach.
So it's got the real good flavoring. Okay, that's it.
Adult water.
Adult water.
Very nice. And Torrey, you?
I have brought in a Brut Rosé today, similar color to yours, Alan.
Very good. Well, we talk about color, then it leads us right into the title, The Colored Museum. Seriously, this was a very interesting work. I had never seen it. And again, I don't want to go into a lot of the controversy that happened prior too much, but I know it was originally slated to be performed where your other plays had been presented through the years at the other museum, the New Orleans Museum of Art. And for whatever reasons, they were not necessarily the same mindset. I think they wanted to do it differently than what the NOLA Project wanted to do. And I think in a case, sometimes when you try to make, lemonade with lemons, sometimes it doesn't taste so good. This particular case, I think you all got a perfect spot to present your production, because it went from the New Orleans Museum of Art to the New Orleans African American Museum. And I don't know if I know that they had thanked Cameron Mitchell Ware, of course, is an actor of great report. You know, we know some of his work as well, but he's working with the museum. Is that the connection that you all had, or how did that work out?
Yes, and I wish I could remember his actual position at the museum, but we reached out to him, and he was more than welcoming. And his entire team, since we started this conversation, has been so helpful. Like, so in a way, it was almost meant to be at this space instead of, you know, where we originally slated. So I mean, I think it worked out perfectly.
Well, again, it's very interesting to be inside, but it's also on the exteriors that you're doing really wonderful. And I'm going to be showing some of the pieces that where you shot production photos that will give a little bit of an insight, and we'll talk a little bit about it. But I want to bring everybody in first. But Torrey, you got involved almost immediately, I guess, with this project as well. Was it something that you wanted to do? Who was it that came up with the idea of doing this originally? Was it from the vision of the artistic directors, or was it just a decision on the part of the rank and file members that this was something that needed to be done?
Yeah, so the decision was actually made before I was an official member of the NOLA Project. I've gotten a chance to work with the NOLA Project since 2012, but I officially became a member this season, and the decision was made. I believe company members recommended the play, and actually the former artistic director, AJ Allegra, initially reached out to Tenaj about potentially directing it. And I must say that it's a play that I've wanted to work on for many, many years. And so as soon as Tenaj mentioned it, I really almost kind of begged her to bring me along into it. So it's been a piece I wanted to work on for a while. So it's been great. The initial idea of it being in a museum has stayed the same, but I would say us finding a home at the New Orleans African American Art Museum in the Torrey was just an incredible blessing. I can't imagine a better atmosphere for the play and a team. What we also got from doing it at the museum was an incredible team that has supported us and added to the vision and pushed our vision. So it's been really great.
And I should point out the fact that Tenaj had a couple of things that she was taking care of over the course of the last year. She got married, she had a baby, changed her name, I mean, so again, a little bit of a challenge here and there, but to use the old New Orleans expression, mazel tov. So I'm really glad for you. And again, I'd like to, at this point in time, I mean, we talk about the artistic director. One of the co-artistic directors is here too, but I know she may have walked away. Oh, there she comes running back into the room. Sorry, Pam, but that's the way it goes. Anyway, we're going to bring Pam Robertson. And again, I'm sorry if you were on your way out of the room for a second. But you became a co-artistic director with Leslie Claverie how long ago now?
Yeah, like at the beginning of the season, so September.
Okay.
Like September last year.
And so what Torrey said was that AJ Allegra, previous artistic director, had kind of like handpicked this as a possibility for the NOLA Project to do, and this was one of the things on your to-do list, so to speak. So tell me a little bit about how you approached it, and how this was shepherded under your artistic vision of what you're planning on doing with this show.
Well, so I honestly think that we were told no, and I don't do well with no's sometimes, and especially when it's like this piece that I love. So I think I can't thank everyone involved, like Torrey, like the whole team is amazing. And I think like when we got it put together, we just did it and made it work.
Yeah. Okay. And again, the thing is, you've got a number of little, I would call it vignettes. I didn't count how many, but different vignettes, outside, exteriors. Then you go inside, to see some of the works, etc. And I'm going to go. They're pretty much in order. But I wanted to bring in one of the actors because, of course, you play one of the actors. You play how many roles? 3 or so yourself?
I play 2.5. I'd say, well, 3. I'm in the chorus. for one of the scenes. So like 2 and the backup.
And then to add to our numbers tonight, I wanted to add in DC. DC Paul is again an actor. And what did you two bring in, DC and Pamela, as far as your drinks tonight?
Oh, I brought in some Card Bordeaux, a stunning,
Very nice
Cabernet. That's where I was going. When you were
Cabernet.
like, she stepped out of the room, I was going to refill.
Cabernet. Well, you know what? You never know. This is the way the show goes. And DCU, what you have?
I drink Jack Daniels.
Oh, okay. A man who knows what he likes and likes what he knows. Okay, very good. All right, so let's just continue down. There are a number of shots that I wanted to go over, and that one of the beauty things about what we're doing tonight is that we can actually give a little bit of I guess you might say maybe like not spoil it, but maybe kind of like let people see a little bit of something so they can understand what this particular play is about. So when you come in the first time, you've got the stewardesses welcoming you to Celebrity Airlines, and again, this is really evocative of the slave experience. And instead of saying "buckle your seatbelts," they're telling you must wear your shackles while you're on the plane. I don't want to give away too much of it, but it really is a bit of biting satire. I mean, it's something that rings true, and there's a lot of this that goes through. And again, George Wolfe is pretty acerbic in his wit. I mean, he's pretty sharp, and it kind of drives home again. For some people might not understand the parody part of it, the satire part of it, but it is really biting satire, and it does bring to fore a lot of emotions that might not necessarily be easily contained. Any thoughts about that as directors, Tenaj or Torrey? Am I kind of like expressing it correctly, or can you tell me a little bit more that maybe I'm glossing over?
Yeah, I mean, I would say you said at the top that the play is really meant to, I think, explain Black life, I think you may have said. But I think one of the things that we're realizing, I think the thing that makes George C. Wolfe so brilliant is he's really using comedy to kind of explore. And so as we're seeing the play unfold, it's really interesting that Black audiences, I think, can come and have one experience, because it's not trying to explain Black life to Black audiences. I think it's really a healing tool, because that's what I believe comedy does. I believe comedy really opens up a way for folks to make sense of their world and their surroundings. And I think this play does that beautifully for Black audiences. It's been really interesting to see white audience members and folks who are not Black come and experience the show, because I do think some of the biting material, it's interesting on who is the butt of the joke. And so I love that he's really kind of found a way in these 11 exhibits to really flip it on its head.
Now, again, you notice the decor, if you will, the color scheme, red, white, and blue, obviously intentional. Was that written in the play, or was that your artistic vision?
It was not written in the play, actually. This is potentially Torrey and I's 4th show that we've done together. And every chance we get, we always pull in these 2 women who are fabulous, Aya Designs Global, and they will come sit in auditions. They'll come to the read-throughs, rehearsals, and we trust them so much. So when they give us their version of our vision, we usually are like, yes, this is exactly what it needs to be. So that 100% came from them. And the second we saw it, it was like,
I think every time I told someone, we're working on the Colored Museum, we're about to start doing the Colored Museum, I would just get these big reactions, because I think this play actually means a lot to a lot of folks. And so one of the things that Tenaj and I really felt important was that we really bring together our, the people and the artists in the city that we really love to work with. So the design team are all designers that we've worked with. All of the performers in the cast are performers that we've either worked with before or admired in their other performances or other roles that they play across the city. And so it just felt like this play is an occasion. It feels really epic. And so we wanted to really bring together the epic designers and performers that we admire in the city.
Outside, one of the buildings. I think, the first building, I don't know if it's 17 or 18. You've got a beautiful, big, wide picture of Leah Chase. And of course, the night that I saw the production was the day that they announced that her son had passed away. Duke Chase had passed. But I mean, one of the main characters you've got in the second exhibit, as it were, is is this. She sings through the whole thing, and she is perfect. I think the character is fantastic, and she, what she's making, is essentially a commentary, right, on what goes into a pot, and what comes out, So, and again, I'm not going to spoil it, but it's well written, and again, very, very much to the point of what I think George Wolfe was trying to drive at. And again, she does it with grace and style, doesn't she?
Yeah, I mean, I think Aunt Ethel is just one of those characters that she's so comfortable. Like the vision of like the Black woman in the kitchen caretaking, and she's comfortable. I was telling a friend that we were doing the Colored Museum and that I was playing this character, Aunt Ethel, and then I had to give him like the pseudo, like kind of Aunt Jemima nudge, and he was like, "Oh, I love her. She's so comfortable. She's so great." And that's great, I think, when looking at audiences, because that's when people are like, "Oh, I know this," and then she sings this biting song and just this satirical, like, here's a song that you did not expect. It is not comfortable. And that's the beauty, I think, of Aunt Ethel, and then the grace, and then
Did you base it on any one particular person that in real life at all, or? No.
I mean, like as an actress, really, I have my mom. Like she's like all my aunts, my mom and my grandmother. She's like every maternal, like on my mother's side of the family, every auntie, every grandmother, every great aunt, all of them. Like, I had aunts who could bake a cake without leaving the table because you were the one that was like, "Go get me this, go get me that." Go, like it's just there's something about it. I don't know.
There's a joy in her presentation, is there not? I mean, just the way you tackle it, it's just an absolute joy to watch and to see her move, and go through all the permutations of the cooking, etc. So you've got a pretty full cast. I mean, and there's the little piece, if you see all the way back, there's Leah Chase in the back, and again, some of the historical figures we may or may not be familiar with, and I always tell people, if you're not familiar with some of the names, you need to ask who they are, and maybe go back to the museum at a later date to find out more. I know that in one of the rooms, you've got Charisse Harrison Nelson, who's depicted. And of course, one of the great Black masking tradition queens that we have in New Orleans. So again, it's interesting to be able to see what you're putting on, and then to look around in the museum itself and see some of these historic figures that make a difference. So DC, tell me a little bit about how you approach your roles. I know you do 3 different roles. I may get to one and see if I've got a good picture. Okay, there you go. That's
Junie. Yeah, that's Junie. I haven't even seen that picture, but my approach to that's a cool picture. I really like that one. My approach to that role, I know some prior military people who may have had not that same experience. People who served and came out without this country having served them. And I kind of tried to channel those people. At the same time, it's a duet piece with Jordan Bourdonnais, who's super talented and funny and a joy to work with. So part of the approach was feeding off of her and allowing that one character to speak from 2 voices. That was my approach for Junie.
And you do mention, the impact of Black Americans and as soldiers in Korea and Vietnam and all the other wars. So it's not just about this time necessarily. It really covers and it goes beyond the point. This was a play that was written in the 80s. You really you incorporate a little bit more than that. I mean, how much how much was extra as directors? How much extra did you bring to bring it forward? Did you write into it, or did you do anything along those lines at all?
So the text is all intact. The text is as it was written by George C. Wolfe in 1986. We obviously, you can tell in our costuming, one of the things Tenaj and I were really interested in is that the experience that these characters talk about are the experience of all Black people, right? Like there are, and so you'll see here, for instance, the way that monologue is originally written is for one performer. But Tenaj and I were really interested in what happens for that same dialogue to come out of the mouth of two performers who look different, who have different acting styles, who have different body types. And so we've done that with a couple of the pieces where we thought it could really amplify a message. We also knew we were working outside in a different space. And so what it takes for one actor to hold that space, what could we do with two? Or in some cases with Miss Pat, the opening scene is really originally written for one performer. And so we've taken that and then put three performers on it and so the words are intact completely. But I think the thing we've added is kind of this exploration of what it sounds like for those words to come from multiple people who have, different body types, different acting styles, all of those things.
And again, you talk about pertinent, right on the money. The performance there. I mean, Matthew. I mean, what can you say? This was written in '86, which is way far before a lot of acceptance of people who are let's say gender fluid, right? So it was amazing to see that work as well on stage. Just tremendous effort, and it was very natural. It was the character breathed. It was believable, and there was nothing untoward in the way that it was approached. I think that it just seemed like it was a real work of art being presented on stage there. So we have the museum allowing that character to breathe free. And you mentioned Jordan. She's very riveting in that same room. And again, I have to say, a little naughty at times in the way the character comes off. There's one line in particular I'm not going to repeat, but I mean it's like everybody goes, oh, and it talks a lot, but she's tackling a thorny subject, is she not? Dealing with rampant pregnancies and things of that sort that we find for people who are maybe a little bit too young to be mothers. And it's something that makes you think, and maybe you don't think about it enough, and you should, right? That's kind of what I think he's saying. So and again, the cast is brilliant. I mean, everybody. I can't speak enough about what a lovely experience it was. For me, it was my first time to see the show presented. I'd never seen. I'd read about it. I knew it was somewhat controversial, but never having seen it, it was sort of like having a wonderful meal served in a grand manner. I got it served to me in the way that it should have been served up, rather than going on my own and trying to experiment and see whether or not this was up to my expectations. It really more than met what I was expecting. But you've got a great cast. I mean, these are all. I mean, you can see it almost as happy faces that everybody has. And I know that there was one other piece. For some reason, I don't seem to see. Maybe I'll find it. Not necessarily, but I thought I had one other piece. I might have left it back, but where. And I do remember seeing where there's a picture of one of the characters holding, and for whatever reason I don't see it, and I apologize, but the piece that you had where they were questioning about whether or not he can proceed. He was going to throw away all the different items, etc. And I know that you had that production, and for some reason I'm missing that photo. So I apologize for not having that tonight. But that also was wonderful. I loved that particular scene. I don't know if everybody loved it as much as I did, but I'm a big music person, and when they start bringing the Temptations in, you got me. So we got a few more minutes to talk about the Colored Museum, and I'd kind of like to get again. Pam, as a co-artistic director, do you think that this is the first of many such provocative works, or is this just part and parcel what NOLA Project's about?
Excuse me. That's a very good question. I am willing to say that Theater for the Bold has always been the line of the NOLA Project, and we have in years, because I have worked with the NOLA Project for many years as their stage manager, and this is my first time being artistic director. So I think we are looking to do pieces that we really want to do, and we're looking to do stories that we really want to tell, right? And it's less about who we are seeking to please and more about who we are seeking to entertain and tell stories to. So I think just in general, we're going to keep moving forward, being bold and making choices and changing. And if you come along, that's amazing. We're going to, put out some fun, interesting things.
And again, you've got a great track record to speak of right now, from the time that they came to New Orleans in 2005. I guess I have to ask, are we going to ever see some of the other works that they used to have, like the Cripple of Inishmore and the other things that we had? Because they seem to maybe not be concentrating on some of those kind of dark Black comedies, the Behanding in Seattle, those sorts of things. Are we still are we going towards that again? Because that sort of defined the NOLA Project too.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're starting this new kind, not new, but we're starting to just solidify our ensemble in a way, and we're actually tomorrow going to go into a room and beat it out to see what we do next season, but in a kind, loving way. So, we're going to debate, so I think it's up to the company. I think part of that energy of the NOLA Project, because I worked with the NOLA Project in 2007 when I moved here, and we were working out of a garage, and I was sewing costumes in a bedroom upstairs, right? So I think as a company, that's who they were then. They were just a company who they were no, this is what we want to do. This is the stories we want to tell. This is how we want to move forward. So I think, we're going to move in a direction that pleases us and will hopefully please people who want to see what we have to present. And this is the Color Museum was definitely we're doing it. We are separating ourselves from what we were. We are changing directions. We are doing the things that we want to do. So does that it? Someone else help me out. No.
I was just going to jump in, Pam, and I would say the through line that I see just from my involvement is that the NOLA Project is full of people who just love theater, honestly. And theater doesn't come with doing theater in New Orleans doesn't come with a ton of benefits or rewards per se, other than the joy of actually doing the thing. And so I don't know, I would just say from my experience, and just the Color Museum is a perfect example of that, is what happens when people who just love this art form put all of their energy into doing their best work.
Or getting back to scrappy theater.
Yeah.
What happens when you take away the fluff?
I love scrappy theater.
Well, this is not just scruffy. It's well done. And I want to congratulate you all doing. Again, DC, thank you for your acting. Pamela, thank you for your acting as well. And Torrey and Tenaj, thank you for all that you do to make this happen. The direction was superb. And again, congratulations to everybody who's involved with the NOLA Project. And if you beat each other up tomorrow, try to do it with nice gloves, because we need
love it.
we need you back. Anyway, but again, I recommend this very highly for people to go and see. And again, the cost is about $38, something like that. So it's not all that bad. and it's about 75 minutes. You can go to 2 shows. One show is at 7 o'clock nightly, and one is at 8 o'clock nightly. And the one that starts at 8 o'clock, of course, you might have a little trouble parking. I recommend the 7 o'clock show so you can get in and get out at about 8:20 or so. But fantastic work that you all are doing, and thank you all for being with me tonight. Again, the NOLA Project. DC, you got something to add? No?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, I do actually. If
go
people are watching, I'll mention that we have an industry night this upcoming Monday, a week from today. So those 30 tickets could be cheaper if you go to NOLA.com. Tickets for that is, I want to say, March 4th.
Okay. All right. Well, that's fantastic. Again, thank you all. Let me go ahead and just thank everybody. I'm going to ask everybody just to take a hiatus at this point in time, because I'm going to try to welcome in our next segment, which is going to be about another group that's doing a show. So y'all have a good night, and thank you, Tenaj, thank you, Torrey, thank you, DC.
Thank you.
In the meantime, again, we're getting ready to talk to the Fireweeds. This is a group that actually is a new group. They're going to be producing a couple of shows for the Tennessee Williams New Orleans Literary Festival. And again, we hope that they'll be in soon. And again, out the link late, and I apologize. I know that they're looking for for what we can get them in right away. But I can only tell you that my hope is that there they come. So I don't have any ability right now to put up the brand. There we go. They're here now, and so let me just remove the logo, and then Pamela, I appreciate you being around. I'm gonna ask you to have a good night, and we'll talk to you later. Lynn Gaithright, you are part of what is now known as the Fireweeds, and we're waiting for your partner, correct, Jacqueline?
Jacqueline Bethany, yeah.
And she's coming. I know she got the thing late. I apologize. I had 2 groups, and I thought I had sent yours out. And when you sent me the text message a little while ago, I forgot. So
Okay.
now, I'm not going to forgive you. But if you didn't have a chance to get your drink together, you can do that while I talk. If you need to go get a drink, because you need to have a drink when you come into the room. Did you bring a drink?
I'll grab something real quick.
All right, that's a good thing to do. All right, so I'm just going to remove her for right now, and I'll bring her back in the room. That I thought it would be a good idea to start with the fact that they're going to be presenting 2 plays for the Tennessee Williams New Orleans Literary Festival, and then and I know you're back, so I'm sure whatever you got was great. First off, you have had a few AKAs, as it were, a few aliases from time to time, and but we're going to call you Lynn Gaithright. Is that the best way to approach you?
That is best for now.
And Jacqueline, welcome to the show. We appreciate you being here.
Hi.
We're going to talk a little bit about the shows that you all are doing, and again, I know that one of them, the 2 together are called
Outraged Hearts.
Outraged Hearts, and one is Interior Panic.
Yes, and
the other one,
The Pretty Trap.
The Pretty Trap. Okay, so we and again, I've got pictures to show, so we will be doing that of some of the production, or at least pre-production. And again, I assume that you wanted to come on tonight because you could be in rehearsals sometime soon. It'd be difficult for you to get away. But please do tell me what was the impetus behind doing another production company at the time for the Tennessee Williams New Orleans Literary Festival? Was it from previous work you'd done, Lynn? Like, I know you had done some work with the Tennessee Williams Theater Company. You'd done the Gnadiges Fraulein. Was it? And I think I'm trying to remember. You'd done. I know wasn't Tennessee Williams, but you did the Killing of the Lesbian Bookie. That was a James Fitzmaurice piece that was so wonderful. I love that. So, but you'd done a little bit of Tennessee Williams before, right?
Yes, I've done quite a bit of Tennessee Williams, working with the Tennessee Williams Theater Company here in New Orleans, and that has been great. And that's actually Jacqueline and I met doing a piece called The Six Blanches. And,
yes,
yeah, that was
But that was at the historic New Orleans collection, correct?
It sure was, yeah. And so we did that together, and we became friends. And Jacqueline was living in Jackson, Mississippi then, but she moved to New Orleans. And, pretty quickly we kind of both got on board with, we felt like there was a real void in New Orleans for the kind of theater that we wanted to do. I know like several companies have closed since the pandemic, and Jacqueline and I really wanted to do something that was very female focused, produce shows that had great roles for women, do lots of shows written by women, directed by women, hiring lots of female creatives, because we just felt like it was the right moment, and, New Orleans could really use that. So.
And a lot of people have always said that Tennessee Williams wrote better female characters than most anybody around. So he seemed to get women for whatever reason. I'm not quite sure if he got men as well as he got women, but he seemed to be on the mark with the ladies.
Absolutely. So, and you don't see a lot of women directing Tennessee Williams, and so we really wanted to change that and bring a really fresh, kind of updated vision to these works that we're doing. And Jacqueline is directing. She has a assistant director, but Jacqueline's been great, and she's going to be really, I think it's going to be something really different, a different approach to Tennessee Williams. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're looking for.
Jacqueline, did you get the memo in time to know you're supposed to bring a drink in? Did you bring one?
No, I did not bring a drink in. Sorry.
So what we do to people who don't bring their drinks in? We got to make them go get their drinks. So Lynn and I will hold court while you go get something to bring in. Okay.
I don't know if I have anything though. I just got back from a trip.
Water will work. Water will work just as well, but you got to have something, because everybody on the show who has ever come into the room has had a drink.
Okay.
All right.
Good.
So we'll remove you while we do that. Okay. And that's the way it goes. I mean, it's very simple. So the thing is, I wanted to talk a little bit about what you touched on before, the Tennessee Williams New Orleans Literary Festival. You're doing this in conjunction with them. Now, tell me how it is that an upstart, brand new company is able to perform with them. What did you do to make that happen? I'm assuming it was partly you as much as it was Jacqueline. So tell me.
Well, I'll tell you, from our very first meeting with Paul, who runs the Tennessee Williams Literary.
Paul Willis, the executive director. Okay.
Yeah. And this was right when Jacqueline and I were really just having the idea of forming a theater company. And we met with Paul, and he was very excited about what we were doing. He was really supportive and enthusiastic and loved everything we were talking about. So he was just like, bring it on, ladies. And so we are. We're also doing a panel. We're doing a panel at the festival of women in Williams, and Jacqueline is going to be moderating that, and I'll be speaking on it. Beth Bartley, Judy Lee Steeles, Lakeisha Glover. Who else?
Nancy Schoenberger, who has the book about Blanche, that came out last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, you all are doing Tennessee Williams with a little bit more of a feminine slant, directing, etc. So that's interesting. It really is that I hadn't thought about the fact that most of the directors are male, but I guess that's true. There are a lot of female directors out there, but they're not doing a lot of Tennessee Williams, it seems. Huh?
No, I mean, I think that there are pockets. There's a production that just closed in New York of Night of Iguana, directed by Emily Mann. But I think particularly in New Orleans, there didn't seem to be a lot of female directed or female driven theater happening, and for whatever reason. And I think that, we shouldn't personify theater by gender or anything like that. But I do think that he wrote such incredible women, and was so in tune with the female psyche in sort of this profound way that we're still looking at in 2024. That I think is exciting. And I don't, I think that you can also have this perspective as a man, or it's a female gaze on his work, especially if you think about the way that he was raised, and he's using these like archetypes of his mother and his sister throughout his work, weaving them throughout his work, and they were very, in a lot of ways very sad, but also strong women. And I think that complexity and the sort of dichotomy in his relationship with the women in his life very much informed his work. And I think that is something that is universal, that any woman can relate to, any writer, any artist can relate to, any audience member, having been influenced by powerful women, frankly. And I think that's what we're interested in exploring.
So tell me a little bit about the name Fire Weeds. Where does it come from, please?
Yeah, there's a Ozu film called The Floating Weeds that's about a traveling theater company in Japan. And for some reason that sticks out to me as an inspiration, but I think we were also thinking of something that had a little bit of fire and guts and like felt feisty, and was also like coming from the ground up, I suppose.
And what was it about these two plays that you went for first? What was it about them that struck you that these are the first two plays that we want to do? Is it because they were the right proper length, or were they saying something that hadn't been said in a while that you hadn't seen them presented, or because I don't remember them being presented that often? That's why I say
they're not. There's only been one production of Interior Panic, I believe, and it was here. I mean, like penultimate. I think there's been a couple of different productions since it premiered, but they both were found or produced fairly recently, like within the past 10 to 15 years. Because they're lesser known works, and they were sort of found and produced later on in his sort of trajectory, post-mortem per se. And I think when people think of Tennessee Williams, they think of Cat on a Hudson Roof, Streetcar Named Desire, Glass Menagerie, and among many others. But these were sort of prototypes for these great American theater classics that we have all come to know and have been a part of our cultural zeitgeist for so long. And I think, Lynn and I aren't just interested in producing Tennessee Williams works, but for the moment, and also for where we could launch our company and what we were trying to say, this all kind of sort of made sense for us for this moment in time. And I think that also something that's really important to us is sort of bringing this to a newer generation that aren't as familiar with him, or even either other classic playwrights. And, a lot of people can't afford to go to the theater, or it's not taught in schools as much as it was. And I think that we're hopefully providing at least a slither of an opportunity into a conversation around a new, fresh outlook on something people think they know a lot about, or they may know nothing at all about. And so I think that that's really exciting. And that's why you do these sort of classic plays, in my opinion, too.
All right, and I've got a few production shots that you said, or at least pre-production, as I said. So obviously that's Lynn. Are these from a particular, are they supposed to represent a particular play, or are they just production shots of?
This is The Pretty Trap.
Okay. And I guess.
This is also The Pretty Trap, yes.
Yeah. And again, the two of you together, obviously The Pretty Trap.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's that one again. So you've got
Amanda and Laura, yeah.
Those are all. So that's Pretty Trap. And can you give me a little bit of a synopsis? Just generally, what's it dealing with? Is it two sisters? Is it two ladies who are friends, or?
Amanda was a mother and daughter.
Yeah.
Mother and daughter. Okay.
Yeah. This is the Pretty Trap is the precursor for Glass Menagerie.
Oh goodness! Really? Okay.
So it's the same characters of Amanda Wingfield and her daughter Laura and her son Tom. We are mixing it up a little bit. I mean, we're honoring the text and the characters and everything. We're just sort of skewing the perspective a little bit.
So tell me, how is it different from what we know of as the Glass Menagerie? And what year is this that was written? Because obviously
it's the same time period, but it's interesting too looking at those photos because I feel like we've come so far in our concept. Those are very like initial sort of character sketches, but it doesn't, I guess the biggest difference is it's not a tragedy. It doesn't end in a tragic way in the way that the Glass Menagerie does, and sort of gives Laura and in a way Amanda a little bit more of a hope at the end, and resilience, as opposed to the ultimate circumstances that are in the Glass Menagerie that both women end up, it's ambiguous, but as we know, Tennessee Williams' life,
blow out the candle. You blow out the candle, Laura.
Yeah, not headed towards darkness, frankly. So I think that to us was different and exciting, and so we're sort of pushing it in a more kind of avant-garde direction.
So in this version, Tom pays the light bill or not?
No, he doesn't pay the light bill,
but I think the female characters are more empowered in this version. Okay.
Well, and what do you think compelled him to change it to a more dark ending? Because it was really a big departure. I mean, that was his first major success, and in many ways, people thought that it was a specific point of American theater changing, that it represented the theater of the future, or the theater was going to be moving as opposed to the theater of the past. So
the realism, yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting because I feel like the sort of lore and the magic around the original production of the Glass Menagerie, dramaturgically and historically, sort of get lost in all these revivals and things that it just keeps getting done and sort of has turned in. And it is a very poetic, and it's a memory play. But I think, in
many ways, it's the archetype memory play. It's the one that everybody goes back to and says, "Aha, I know what a memory play is."
But,
because
it's almost Brechtian in the way that Tom narrates it. And in the original production, Tom was in his 50s, and I think going back and forth between being the narrator and being in the piece, so it was very clear that it was a memory. And I think sometimes looking back at the sort of original production and sort of how he was forming the characters and how they informed also his relationship with his own mother and sister, which I think, honestly, for me, this is a piece that was allowing his sister, who ended up, receiving one of the first full frontal lobotomies, a chance to live on. And I think there's some story, that his actual, his mother came to the opening night of the Glass Menagerie, and somebody was like, "Oh, how did it feel to see yourself on stage?" And she was like, "That me?" It's so crazy. He was actually mirroring a lot of what his life was like, but in a way that, for the reason that we go to the theater and for an escape. And so to create that separation too between the performances and sort of these ideas of these characters that we've had that have been sort of a part of theater history for so long, and sort of looking back at the original and what really was he trying to do, because The Pretty Trap was still a sketch of what the Glass Menagerie would be. So I think that that's been really interesting, and that there is quite a lot of history and magic around that original production and process, and obviously pain for what he was going through, I'm sure, writing this. And it's interesting, there was also a screenplay version, The Gentleman Caller, that sort of focused on Amanda much heavier, and sort of went into her life in the Delta before it became the Menagerie. So it's this play and these characters had many lives, and so this is we're lucky to be able to see this iteration of it. I think that it's been found and published, and I think was done in a very traditional way in the past time it was produced at the festival. And I think that this is a pretty different and radical and bold staging that we also hope will live on past our initial run in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and I know, when you talk about strong characters like Amanda, you think about the actors who portray them. I mean, Laurette Taylor was considered one of the great performers of her time.
Yeah,
and came to become known with the role in such a way that in many people she was the preeminent interpreter of that role. And it's difficult for other people to see. Well, of course, nowadays we've had lots of people who've done Elizabeth Ashley and other people I think maybe have tackled it. But I know that it's really important that you have the right actor trying to bring forth their own identity with the role, but putting their own imprint on. I know you've got this other play as well, Interior Panic, and maybe you can tell me a little bit about what's involved with that. And these seem to be again shots that you sent Lynn, and there's one of her in profile. So maybe you could tell me a little bit about what that's about in terms of Interior Panic. Is it still a 2-person performance here?
Well, it's Interior Panic is one of the precursors for A Streetcar Named Desire.
Ah, okay. So this is essentially Blanche and Stella.
It is Blanche, and Stella is called Grace in this piece.
Okay.
And her husband is Jack. Keyfarber is their last name, and so. I mean, Blanche is Blanche, but the other characters have different names. But yes, Blanche and Grace are sisters. They came from Belle Reve. Blanche has come to live with Grace and Jack in New Orleans. So it kind of, Interior Panic sort of starts about kind of 3/4 of the way into Streetcar, more or less. And it's probably... I would say it's less formed than Interior Panic. Interior Panic seems very, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end very clearly. But Interior Panic is a little more, it's not as fully formed. But I think that we are doing a good job of, I mean, you can't help but think about parts of Streetcar and pull that into it. I mean, not that we're using that really, but it's in your mind when you're performing this, the relationships between the characters and all that kind of stuff.
What is it that in terms of time, you've got 2 plays, what is it that each of these occupies? Is it each one about an hour or
a little less?
A little bit less?
A little bit less, yeah.
So I'm trying to get an idea about how much of Streetcar and how much of Glass Menagerie we're gonna get.
So they really take place. The Pretty Trap just takes place at the dinner party. So the very end of the play, as we know it, in its current, form, and then Interior Panic, like Lynn says, who's playing Blanche. Sorry, Freudian slip. Takes place in sort of the latter half of the play, but is condensed in a pretty intense moment, I think, for Blanche's character that is sort of, we're not quite sure where she is mentally. We're sort of in her mind with her, which is very interesting because I think you have hints of that in Streetcar for sure, but it's not fully explored, and it's sort of up to the actor who's playing Blanche how much that happens. But with this, I would say Interior Panic could run anywhere between 25 and 40 minutes depending on how much is sort of explored and with the staging and everything. But it's really coming in at a pretty heightened moment, I would say, for everyone in that house.
So when you do these for the Tennessee Williams New Orleans Literary Festival, and when you're going to be doing it, I'm not quite sure you're going to do it before or after, during, only, whatever. But is it intended to be done one after the other? You're going to have a break in between?
So it's the whole evening will run about 2 hours.
Okay.
There's a 15-minute intermission. So it's basically the Pretty Trap with a bit of a pre-show beforehand. And then there's an intermission, and then we go into Interior Panic.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So
It's
a
full
night.
Both
Yeah.
shows.
Yeah, it's the same actors in both shows. So it's a little bit of like doing it in rep. It runs we open the 21st of March and it runs through the 30th. There's 12 performances. So it's a pretty good.
So what's the venue? Where are you performing?
At Big Couch.
Big Couch. Okay. So Big Couch is about 3,600 St. Claude. Is that about right?
It's at St. Claude and Desire Street.
Right. So I don't remember the exact number, but I thought it was about 3,600. But St. Claude and Desire, you basically park, if you can, on St. Claude, and then walk around the corner.
Yeah, you come in
on
on
Street,
Desire. The actual address is 1045 Desire Street. And we're going to, like Jacqueline said, we're going to do about a 20-minute pre-show. There's a nice lounge and bar area there. Yeah. And then we will do the Pretty Trap. We'll take our intermission. We'll all change clothes, change characters, and then we'll dive right back in and do Interior Panic.
Isn't it interesting? You're doing a play on Desire, you know?
Yeah, it's really serendipitous and special, I think, and it wasn't intentional. It was honestly just. And again, I know, Lynn, you were wearing that Freudian slip there, right? That's what So again, a new theater company. Thank you for being so bold and brave to want to bring theater to New Orleans, especially post-pandemic when we can use it still. I don't know about you, but I was missing theater quite a bit. Part of the reason for this show was to try to keep people occupied and moving past the pandemic, and for some people it worked. For some people kept them occupied, but it also allowed me to present shows that we had sometimes hundreds of people watching our shows during a period when nobody could go into a theater. So it was I would say it did what it needed to do for people, to give them an experience, to allow some of the actors to flex their muscle and try to keep the community together. That was my intent. I don't know whether or not it succeeded, but the point is that we just want people to know that we're here now still. And occasionally I will be doing these shows. Mardi Gras kept me from doing this. But I'm so glad that you all could make it tonight to tell everybody about the fireweeds. And I apologize. I wanted to have your logo up, but the way you sent it in the email, it wasn't a graphic that I could pull out of it. I tried to copy and paste it, but it just wasn't working for me. Sorry. So what I want you to do for the next time you come on, I want you to send me that graphic as a JPEG or a PNG or some other kind of photo, and I'll post it up there. But again, give me the dates again for the production. Again, it's going to be a Big Couch, corner of Desire and St. Claude Avenue. 12 performances starting on March the 21st and ending on March the 30th, right?
And we will do evening performances that start at 7:30, and then Saturday and Sunday, the first Saturday and Sunday, which will be during the festival, we will do a matinee as well at 2:30 both days. And then the following week, we'll do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday evening performances, a matinee on Saturday, and our final evening performance Saturday night.
Are the tickets available through the Tennessee Williams New Orleans Literary Festival? Are they separate? Are they coming through your site?
Yeah.
How's that working?
Everything is linked on the Tennessee Williams Festival website, but we're selling tickets through Brown Paper Tickets, and tickets will also be available at the box office at the venue an hour and a half before the show. So there's multiple ways to book tickets. Obviously we would love people to book in advance. What's
the email again for me to put up again? Not the email, the link again is
I think I would have to send it to you.
It's brown tickets or brown paper tickets?
Brown. Yeah.
Okay. .com.
Is that what it is, Jacqueline?
Yeah, it's on Brown Paper Tickets.
We'll just use it that way.
It's Outrage Arts. Here, I can put it in the studio chat if that's helpful.
Well, okay, I can just hide that one and we can put up the new one. But in other words, That's okay.
That's the link.
Okay, so I'll try to copy it and let's see if we can get it in there. Try to do it as quickly as I can. So hopefully this will work for us. And anybody wants to go, they'll have an opportunity to go. And let's see if it shows up. There we go. outragehearts.bpt.me. There you go.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you both for being with me tonight. It's time for us to leave, unfortunately, but that should give everybody enough of a insight into the show. Again, Outrage Hearts, Interior Panic, and The Pretty Trap are the two plays. Lynn Gathright and Jacqueline Bethany, thank you for being here tonight. And again, if you'll stick around for just a second, I'm going to say goodnight to everybody else and then come back and say goodnight to you. Okay. So just stick around for a sec. And again, this has been NOLA Theater Talk. Again, my name is Alan Smason, and we broadcast every week that we're on to the NOLA Theater Folk Facebook group, the theatercriticism.com Facebook page, not theatercriticism.com, which is a review site, but it's the social media promotion page, and also my own YouTube channel. And again, I appreciate you all being here tonight. And as always, I'll see you at the theater.